I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Mitch Gregory on he and his wife's 40-acre farm just a week before the migrating monarch butterflies start to descend to feed on the Gregory goldenrod on their way to Mexico for the winter. I spent over an hour walking with Mitch through his wildlife sanctuary and learned so much in that short amount of time. Mitch is a fantastic steward of the land, and he exudes passion for all wildlife, both plants and animals. The following film documents some of the work Mitch and his wife have done over the years, as well as provides a profile of the living things that call his farm home. Enjoy. Mitch, thank you so much for allowing me to come out and learn.
My dad bought this ground. This ground is 80 that's here, and we owned it in 1968. He started bringing me out here as a kid in 65 when I was like 5. When I looked at this whole area, every farmer had wheat, barley, hay, and they were feeding all their livestock in a different way. Every farmer had livestock, and so there was so much of this ground that had those hedgerows that you're seeing right there. It was everywhere because farmers used hedgerows as protection, you know, to keep the wind down for their farms and things like that. So all this has changed in just a short time, you know. I always like to express to people and children that 50 years is just very, very short, you know.
Yeah.
It's just very short. America's brand spanking new.
Yep.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Turkey fight. Yeah, and what this plant does, see how it's turning purple? This thing's going to shoot up a little taller. When that sun hits this, it is as beautiful as it's as gorgeous as ever. This plant, see all this here, this is all the summer stuff right here. This is where all the seed comes for any wintering animals, birds. This was a gray-headed coneflower just a little while ago. Every one of these is a seed that would propagate. Okay. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. This right here, you guys, this right here is called common goldenrod. This is what the monarchs are after, the pollinators that are here, all the bees right now, they're after this. And the myth on goldenrod, it is not allergenic at all. It is not allergenic at all. This time of the year we have what they call ragweed, and I'll show you a little bit of that. But this is goldenrod. It's not bad at all. This is called European goldenrod. Very cool plant. Very cool. And see how it's just starting to open? That's indication of migration.
Okay.
Because the monarchs, this is their favorite thing. When they're up there in the sky a mile high, they actually come down and see this, and then they say, we're coming here for dinner. This is a dinner bell. This is like having the best dinner you ever had to them, right here, right there.
That's cool.
Concerned what's starting to happen. That right there is full bloom. And when that starts to, Chad, when that starts to yellow down, when it starts to lose its, see already, there's a mature plant, see that dark? They know that. And we have not had the migration start yet. I'm concerned this year. This is coming about 5 or 6 days earlier because I categorize it every year, how it grows. And this is the earliest I've seen this in years starting to happen. And the monarchs are, you know, here's brand new. This is going to be this is brand new. See the difference? This hasn't opened. So I have a lot of that going on. So we have so many days to captivate that food. Just so many days. It's just a window. And all from the United States down. That's how it is.
Yeah.
All the way, everywhere you go. It's all about this. And that's why they have all the roadsides that you know.
Right.
That's why the roadsides are where they are. That's Pheasants Forever did that.
Okay.
Kenny Black.
Okay.
Kenny Black in Washington, Illinois sat down with a group and said, hey, we want to get the seed when they put 24 in, but we want to do this. We want to put this grass.
Yeah.
Because all these types of grasses are very conservation-wise because what they do, they're so deep, they stop erosion. They stop erosion for our creeks. All the water that runs to the Illinois River, this is part of it, saving the Illinois River. Everything you're looking at is what saves the Illinois River. Yep. It cleans the water. Faster. This is this flower right here, and I've got purple. There's times that I've seen snow come in October, and these are blooming.
Really?
Yeah, they're the last of they call it the very any migrators that got bred late in the summertime, whether it be bees or whatever that's moving or how they're doing it. But mainly butterflies, monarchs. This flower is the last savior for the lingering, because we know all monarchs never migrate. They're all individuals. They move at the same time, but every one of those insects, they don't care if their buddy's hanging next to them. I gotta go.
Yep.
They have it's no correlation between bird migration and monarch migration. They are all individuals. All individuals. That's a hard one to believe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Do you ever have any problems with, do they spray these bean fields?
Yes, they do.
You have any?
Here's what's cool because farmers, which I am, that's what I grew up doing and having a total understanding is, when it comes to a soybean, all soybeans have a flower. Anybody that parks next to this, they can increase their soybean production by 10%. Because guess what has to happen?
Pollination.
Whether you're having a cantaloupe at home or that best watermelon, those soybeans have to be pollinated to produce the bean.
Right.
So it's all pollination.
Yeah.
It's all pollination. We're going to spray today, and this is our wind direction. And so they keep all that away for wind direction, and wind direction is huge. Even though we do get drift, it's the fact that they're challenging the idea of what's important, and to them, having this is important. Having this is important. And so all farmers and neighbors have come together all over the United States, and we're doing our best to do these things, because those are the people that are really making an impact, because they understand it. They understand what needs to be done. And with all the chemicals that we see in the world today, farmers are actually very, very intelligent about what they're doing, and they're trying. That's 90% of the goal, is just the fact that somebody wants to try.
Yeah.
That's the whole effort in life.
And period. It's difficult to, provide the demand and still be cognizant of the repercussions of that.
Exactly. And so the world is on a big tilt, right?
Yeah.
We're working on this balance of what we need to do, but there's so many young people, so many people coming up that are, their energy is being put into taking care of that, and it's a wonderful thing. It's just a wonderful thing to see happening. This is what they do. See, every bit of a milkweed has that. Look, that's the poison right there. Every bit of it. As soon as you tear it off. Okay.
Now, is that the latex part, or is
that's the milky part. The milky part
okay.
of the poison that goes into this that's in the leaf. Like when you tear a leaf off. See, there it is again, all over those edges. And guess what's the only critter that can take this down? A caterpillar.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the only thing that can handle it. You could have the biggest bison in the world, and he'd walk up to that, he'd say, I'm not eating that. I don't like that. That's terrible. So when I grew up, my job as a kid was to go out in the fields where we had our cattle and stuff, and whether we were farming, it was to get rid of milkweed.
Right.
My whole life was was cut milkweed down. I remember my grandpa had cattle. You could go through the entire pasture and all the milkweed would be standing. There isn't any cattle would even think about it. And we didn't think much of it, because there were so many monarchs back in those days.
Right.
They were everywhere. If you went down the road, the front of when they migrated, which we didn't pay that close attention, the whole front of your car would be just monarchs stuck. They were stuck to your car.
Yeah.
That's how many there were.
Wow.
So this is an example. Just 50 years later, 40 years later. Only 40 years is such a small amount of time. It's so minute what we have lost, and why we need to start thinking about these things more.
Now, is that poisonous to humans?
Yeah,
Yeah, but some are more susceptible. Like don't touch your mouth after
don't stick it. Don't do that much. No, it's nasty. This is a spring. This is a flower. There's several different kinds of blooming yellow. And we all know Lazy Susan, the term Lazy Susan. Well, Lazy Susan has a lot of different, I call them Lazy Susans, but they're black-eyed Susans. Okay? I call them lazy because guess what? There's so many species of yellow from the Susan family, and all these are natives. This is a fall one. This is a fall yellow flower, and in the summertime, we get the black-eyed Susans, and somebody says, well, that'll be it. I said, Old Susan has a lot of cousins. She's got lots of cousins. See right here, right here, right here, right there?
Yeah.
That's what pulls them down too. There's so many different species of yellow, which has gone millennial time. Millennial. We're talking millennial time. It is. And then the great one. That's a young one. That's one that's been born. See how little it is?
Uh-huh.
You got to see
I
one.
did, I got it
Dude,
too.
You got it, dude. You did. Did you get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's my pride and joy. My pheasants that nest out here and have their babies. That was a young baby. The mother has pushed it out.
Okay.
Okay. And so when you saw it get up and fly like that, that chick was born about 6 or 8 weeks ago.
Wow.
And now it's on its own.
Wow.
Mom says, we're done. You need to get out there and figure out your life. And it flew wild right there. Yep. You got it.
That's
dude.
awesome.
You saw it. This habitat has bugs. So when hen pheasants, which are fowl, okay, every fowl that's ever born in the wild, whether it be a partridge or whether it be a quail or dove, when they're on the ground, they start out their hatchlings with bugs because they have the same equivalent protein in a bug as it does in corn. So when the bugs go away and the fields are open, they revert totally back to corn and grain. Okay. So, and all fowl is that way. You know, fowl they have a gizzard, just like a chicken. They have a gizzard to grind their food. They got to get rock. So this here is ideal for the production of songbirds and wild and all fowl, whether it be pheasants and quail, which are native. Those are native to here. Those are native that have been here for a long time. Now pheasants were actually introduced in about 1840 from China. Quail are totally native, and so some people say, oh, pheasants, I say, no, they're kind of invasive. They were brought in,
Yeah.
and they just did good, and so we like them.
Yeah.
But they're truthfully a brought-in species. And invasive species is some of the biggest problems that we have.
These what called limiting factor.
Yes,
Yeah.
invasive plants, invasive
Yep.
species. They're just destroying this country and the world. Anything that's invasive is bad news. You can see out here all the different plants.
Right.
This was this. I'll show you what this looked like, Chad. Right here. Okay? I'll come take you right to it. This was a sea of blue, purple, just 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
This is this plant right here. Yep, right there. That's what it turns into. Look at the seed for birds. Can you imagine how much food they got around here in the wintertime? So what happens when the snow blows in deep, this holds the snow up because it's just like a great barrier. And so as it builds a little bit, every songbird that remains for the winter, they can stand right on that snow and just sit there and eat that right off. It's automatic. They never run out of food around here. They just don't. They don't.
Wow.
Is sweet to the taste, and it's one of the favorites for songbirds and pheasants and quail.
Partridge pea is
Partridge pea.
Okay.
Yeah, they love this guy. Oh, they eat that. Oh my gosh, that's like it's hilarious to watch them. They just go crazy, and it's unbelievable nutrition for game. Wild. Yep, it's best nutrition. You can see it all growing on the edge. See it? And you know, I'm a guy with texture. I love texture. Feel the texture of that leaf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you should. I can texture. I'm all about texture of plants because it sounds kind of corny, but when you start showing people texture and say, "Hey, this plant's been around for this 100,000 years or millennial," they go, "That's unbelievable." There's some plants out here I can even show you right now. See the big tall plant?
Yep.
That's called a compass plant. And I'll show you the leaf before you leave today, Chad. That plant right there, when we were mass prairies, the Indians and anyone that followed, anyone that followed direction, followed compass plant because it shines. It gets up just like a sunflower, and it has a total 360 movement for direction. And it was so easy to direct yourself back in those days, you know, because you had those things to watch. You knew east, west, north, and south. It was the day you hit the ground, you know, you knew which direction you were going just by stuff like that. That's what a Queen Anne's lace looks like.
Okay.
And here's what's cool about a Queen Anne's lace. When I grew up, look up a Queen Anne's lace. When I grew up, my grandmothers and my aunts and my mom, they would dry these out, and guess what they were? They were bookmarkers, and they were bookmarkers for the Bible.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
This is Queen Anne's lace. And they dried so well like this that the flower, it was very difficult to pull it off. See how hard that is? I have to really dig in. So when it was dried flat, it hardly lost a seed. And they used that as a bookmark.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's neat.
it's called Queen Anne's lace.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what she does now. She was all pretty and white and gorgeous, big round flower just a couple weeks ago. Now she's going away for the winter time. She's going away for the winter. That's what she's doing.
It's neat.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what this is down here, which is really cool. See, this is my white aster. I call it baby breath aster. You know, that's what I call it. It's really got a different name. But this is the stuff that see all the white starting to happen?
Mm-hmm.
See all this particular plant. It's doing its thing everywhere in there. And the week from now, two weeks from now, at the max, this will be snow white. Be everywhere. And then I have purple asters, and it'll change one more time. After the yellow you see, oh, there's a purple aster right there.
Yep.
See that purple? We all know asters. People put them in their yard. That's a great plant for your yard, right there. That hangs on to its color past the yellow.
Okay.
Past the yellow. Okay. Conservation is this right here, and this is what I tell people. When you see this stuff, when somebody shows it to you, all of a sudden you start to recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that guy told me about that.
Yeah.
And your eyes start to look around you instead of just being focused, one direction.
Mm-hmm.
This is 220 feet. 220 feet from here to the other side. There's a creek that runs down in there.
Okay.
And what this does is see the lay of the land flowing this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when they turn that ground over, I'm going to tell you, these plants that are here, they grab that soil before it ever gets there. You see?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? That means that soil is not going in the creek, it's staying
Right
here. It's being conserved. Conservation is being conserved. And that is what I like to show people as much as anything. And these programs have been around for almost 40 years now. That is why our waterways and our systems don't ever say, oh, we got all this dirty, nasty water. It's an incorrect statement. And the 3 Great Lakes right now are amazing. The ones that we're familiar with, we know there's 5, but the ones that you guys in this area remember is Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan was voted last year the 3rd cleanest body of water in the United States.
Wow.
Because of this.
Yeah.
This
It acts as like a filter.
It's a massive filter.
Yep.
Between the zebra mussels being a problem, they're not now.
Yeah.
They're cleaning the water. They're cleaning the water.
Cool.
We're gonna see more.
Cool.
And the reason why we're gonna see more, because remember I told you they gotta dry their wings in the asters for the fall. Right there, man. That's what keeps everybody happy right here, man. And it's beautiful. You get snow, can you imagine?
Yeah.
A little snow and that sticking up when you're out here going for a run and stuff. It's the bomb, dude. That's why I love cross-country skiing. It's the bomb.
That's a neat.
I'm gonna show you, this is the guy, the compass plant. And I wanna show you what his leaf looks like. You ever seen anything like that?
No.
There you go, biologist.
Yeah, that's so neat.
Isn't that cool?
Like you see so many different things out here that
No.
you didn't even know existed.
No,
That's
exactly.
Neat.
I always say, take a look at this.
Wow.
Wait till I show you. I'm gonna find some old rattlesnake roundup seeds in the seed form now. Done. It's done for the summer. Done. And I've got some of these guys that stick up so tall you won't imagine. But I'm gonna find some rattlesnake roundup. This is what always blows the kids' minds when I show them rattlesnake. Cause they go, rattlesnake. Oh, whoa. What's that? Oh, found one right away. Right here. This is called rattlesnake roundup, or rattlesnake master. And I'm gonna show you another cool thing. That's a native plant.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, see this right here? That's the seed head. And the reason why I got nicknamed rattlesnake was this. In about 3 weeks, it gets so dry. If your ears are in tune, there's so much of it out here.
Really?
Yeah, it dries out before it pops.
Neat.
Before it pops open.
Okay.
Before it pops open, it shakes. That's what they call it.
Not a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
Wow.
And these are all plants from Native Americans. This is long before us folks showed up. These people, those Native Americans, they knew everything about this. This was their life. This is how they survived. This was everything. Very pro-Native American because of the fact that they knew all this stuff before we showed up. Before we came, they were way ahead of us. This is winter. This is a plant from last winter, but this will be coming up again. Take a look how easy that is for a bird to sit on in the middle of a 20 below zero and just sit there.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta have some dinner.
Yeah.
They got dinner right there. Used to be like when everything had acreage around it, trees and stuff.
Right.
Just when I was a kid, right on the same property, you guys, right here when I was a kid, there was wildlife everywhere.
Now, how much, besides obviously mowing the trails, the paths and stuff, what about the maintenance of something like this? Is it all nature, or is you have to?
It's me. It's me and Charlie and volunteers. Everything you're seeing, like this pie, we call it the pie, it's been burnt 4 times. We burned this because our Great Prairies were burned all the time with lightning.
Sure.
And when you burn it down, if there's weeds, what we call weeds, referred to as weeds, these plants, because I've said, in the conversation, they have 20-foot root systems. Guess what they do? They win. They choke out all the bad guys.
Okay. So how often do you burn different parts at different times?
Yes, because
right, you wouldn't want to do it all at once.
Oh no, but everything we do out here, we set up a burn for the state police, our local police, the fire department. We let them know exactly when we're going to do this. I go in and visit. I actually give them a burn plan. Very organized. It doesn't take as many people to have controlled burns and to do it right. It's done very engineered, and it works out great. My wife and I have done the whole areas by ourselves. Okay. Because we prepare, I prepare an edge, and when you do that, when you have wind direction, that's what gives the fire the energy. And you have to have a little energy as long as you're prepared. And it's strategic, but just think of all the great fire jumpers, people that do this for a living. And that's another thing that's really fun to understand about all this is controlled burns. It's very educational, really educational.
And how often do you burn?
Okay, the 8 acres that sits in front of the house, and we'll out in front, this right here, we have burned these areas. This is now in its 9th year. We're looking at 9 years. We've burned that twice, that big square pie there. Okay. This pie back here has been burned 4 times. Okay. And then there's another 10 acres up front that's been burned 3 times. Okay. But we have done such a great job with our work and effort that we have stopped a lot of the invasives, and there's coming a time for me at my age that according to how you do things, I can actually say part of my life is done. The effort and the work that I put into this has been astronomical, but I loved it. There wasn't a time that I really complained. It was just getting people organized to give me a hand, to do this and that. But it has come to a point now that I get to just, for the rest of my life, and my family after me is going to be able to have this with minimal amount of work. It's always going to be some, right? But it's not as terribly hard as it was in the beginning of planting all this and doing all this. So sometimes you get to the point in your life, which is exciting, is that sometimes you just have to tell yourself, Chad, I'm done. Yeah. And it's wonderful. It's like I'm bringing you out today. It's like what I like to do is because I like to tell people, there's a lot of work, but anything that is achievable in life, it starts there. And and what you get from things that you do in life is a lot of humility. And the best part about it is it softens your heart, makes you have a better heart, towards things in life. It lets you view things with people and the mistakes and everything that it's created in life. It gives you the opportunity to say you're a good person, and I appreciate you being here today. It's just becomes so simple. It creates great compassion, and that's the biggest thing that I like to tell people. This is my passion, but it creates compassion.
That's right. I like that.
It does.
That's awesome.
Simple, With this, Chad, when the monarchs come, this is where we walk to. Okay. One of the areas we walk to. Okay. And I got a shortcut. I'll show you as we cross over. But there's times that we come down here and we go, oh God, you're out doing it. And traffic going right by.
Yeah.
No,
no.
they don't care.
Yeah.
This is where they feel really comfortable, right in here. They love it down here because it's kind of quiet.
Yep.
It's safe and it's out of the wind.
Right.
So, we'll walk this way too. This is my. If you were a little guy, what are you going to do? I don't want to get where there's wind all the time.
Right.
I want to rest. So they come down in here because it's all surrounded. I built this like this, 20 years ago to create this old sanctuary down here that my mom used to take me to. And we would backpack in here, my mom and I and my nephews and stuff. And we'd have picnics.
Yep. That's what I was going to guess.
We had picnics. My mom was that. My mom was that way. My mom is that person too, you see.
Cool.
Yeah. So I came in here deciding what I was going to do to create it even more.
There it goes.
To go. Okay. Oh, right there, Monarch. Right there, Dad. That's a migrator. See how big and bold it is? See how strong it is? And the reason why they're kind of flighty right now is because they woke up. Now watch, he might land right for us somewhere. Hi, bud. He's going. Come on, bud. See how big and bold that critter is? See, oh, there it is.
It's awesome.
Yeah. You might be able to get him right here.
Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah. Because they wake up in the morning and they get that early sun. They go to bed here. They don't go to bed on the backside. They go to bed right here. And that's why I did all this stuff, Chad. Was to create habitat all around, kind of encircle this a little bit,
What's
down. Oh, there it is. You know what that is? This is a late blooming. That's milkweed.
Okay.
Very cool piece of milkweed.
Okay. Well, I saw this and I thought
No,
maybe
exactly.
that was...
This is one of the people put in their yards a lot. They like to have
so it's
that.
a different
It's a different
variation
species.
of...
This is a different species of milkweed.
Okay.
Right here. It's very cool. Good eye, Chad. Right there. And then what a pretty plant.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's neat.
Beautiful. There it is. It's like the mini pod that we just saw on the other milkweed right there. It's just mini. That will burst and those seeds will fly. Just like we saw on a regular milkweed. Just a little guy, but they're everywhere out here. They're beautiful out here. I really...
So when they come in the evening to roost, right? So is it when we walk by, are they spooked pretty easily, or do they...
Actually, in the evening, what you'll see, Chad, is they're not spookable. They're very, this stage in a monarch's life, it's very not spookable.
Okay.
It's the darndest thing you ever saw, because you'll see clumps of them just hanging right in front of you. And once they come together, once that one starts to make a hanging area, the other ones gravitate to it.
Sure.
The same way they do in Mexico. They do the same process here at night than they're going to do for the next 8 months. And they just go, as the sun goes down, they're done. They're done out here. They're here.
Yeah.
And they go, time to go to bed.
Yeah.
They got to rest. And then they rest. And then they make that decision that next morning, is that wind to my back? Because as we know, as the fall comes, you get a north. What do we have? We have a north wind. And that wind, when that takes them up into the stratosphere, they just set those wings.
Yeah.
And they set those wings, and there isn't a scientist in the world can navigate like that.
Right.
No, that's what they have to do. And as we know as scientists and people that follow them, they have about a half hour that they got to come down and get some nectar.
Right.
Or they're going to die. And so they drop out of that atmosphere a mile high, and then they go back up.
Yeah.
In a day's time, they try to travel 100 miles. Yeah. So you think about their flight. Think about their flight to go, 3,000 miles. If they can fly 100 miles a day, now if they get bad weather, that's tough on them.
Yes. Yes.
Remember I was telling you in 96 when they built the bypass? I'll show you something cool. This is just wheat and hay. I'm getting back to when the ecosystems have changed. I kept these posts. See this right here? These are all hedge posts right there.
Yep.
That my dad and I fenced certain areas where we'd have our wheat and our hay, so the cattle wouldn't come in or whatever. You guys, that's not even been 50 years ago.
Wow.
Okay? This is like 40 years ago. I had hay in here till 20 years ago. I farmed all this back section was hay. Yeah. And so these old posts, we cut those at our farm up in Henry County and brought those down.
Wow.
So when they started building the bypass, I told my dad in 96, I said, Dad, I don't want to cut the hedge around here. he looked at me and goes, I gotta get rid of that stuff. And I said, Dad, come on. We go up to Grandpa's all the time. Oh, there's a monarch right there. They loved it. Oh, there he is. There he is, dude. It's a girl. I can see by the outside. That's a girl. Yep, that's a little input here. He said, okay, we'll let him go. We're not gonna take him down. And the thing that I like about a hedge or a tree like this is they're kind of a piece of art. All you do is have to construct them, and you can make them whatever you want. But each one of these stands for it was just unreal how it happened. I have 7 grandkids, and so each one of these stands for my grandchildren. Yeah, so
that's so cool.
Yeah, and they come down, they know who's who. It's the best.
Yeah.
So if I leave anything in my life, my grandkids, when they get bigger, my daughters, they'll say, well, they'll know the stories.
That's neat.
The stories. This is Evan, by the way. This is my old son. Hi, Evan. See you, buddy.
Why? Because you don't see a lot of hedgerows anymore.
No, they cut them down.
Because of?
Because here's why they cut them down. Because what they do, they spread hedge to start with.
Okay.
But farmers, they kept them because they would, like that 220 feet conservation down there across the bottom, they would leave that out to the side because it stopped wind erosion.
Right.
They would make vast areas like this. And so guess what happened? All the creatures had a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we had wildlife.
Yeah.
These old hedge trees, and farmers used hedge because, like I was telling you about that hedge, and I'll show you some more. We would cut hedge because we cut them for posts.
Yeah.
Because you can stick them in the ground, and 80 years later, they're still standing there.
Yeah.
That post was probably put in probably 1980 at the latest. That one right there. That thing is still. So hedge to people was very important. And they used to use the hedge apples around their houses because it deterred rodents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it deterred rodents and bugs. Everybody had hedge apples. I can still remember lining them
remember
up.
hedge apples, yeah.
Yeah.
But so the primary reason being that it spreads
ahead.
and they don't want it out in their fields? Is that,
they want to get rid of it because what it does, it pushes out and it causes see that shade?
Yeah, the shade. Okay.
Shade. And then what happens, you can't farm it right, you got to farm right to the wall.
Yeah.
You got to farm to that line.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the changes. They used to not be that way. Yeah, we valued it. This is mulberry hedge, I call it, or mulberry. This doesn't get the big balls, but there's a couple species, the hedge that gets the balls, and then this is a mulberry.
Mm-hmm.
These get and the birds go crazy and they go wild. It's good food for birds right here. Yeah. So I live with it.
Yeah.
About the 7 acres, 8 acres. This is almost 25 years old. This stuff here, what we're gonna walk into. Yeah, this is the old stuff. It's amazing how, look at that, how purple that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Cool. I'll show you one of the oldest. This is one of the old, I'll walk in and grab him. This is one of the oldest compass plants on the farm. He's right here. And he's been taken over by trees, so it's, look at the size of this thing. This is like growing a tree.
Wow.
This is like a true tree. Yeah. And you can just see. Look at how big this is. Look at how big that leaf is.
Wow.
That's just like a tree. That's exactly how I refer to these things as growing as trees.
It's awesome.
Like a tree. Yeah. See this European goldenrod? You got 20 some years on that stuff. That's 23, 45 years. I'll walk into my little, this is where I've been doing figuring out a lot of art, because I love art. But I've got actually some great art around here in the next couple years. And it's actually being done. My little sanctuary. This is where, years ago, when, because it was the beginning. This is the beginning of when people really, we've got a little fire pit place back here, but these plants are very old. They're really cool, and I'm really proud of them. Because this is how I started.
Yeah.
This is how I started all this right here. And I cut these little trails in here to be able to get around. This is where my martins live. These are my martins. Ken helped me shovel all the...
I bet he did.
This is Ken. I hate to say it, but I see my martin houses. These are awesome, man. Each one of these have a cavity with a nesting box.
Okay.
Okay. I pull that nesting box out, clean it, disinfect it, put it away for the winter. And there's the cranks that go up and down. This week I'll be putting my covers on for the winter time.
Okay.
And that's how I take care of them. These are all more stands for them right here.
Okay.
But they're so easy compared to what I used to do as a kid. Oh my gosh. I spent the money because it's just so nice for me as I get old. It's way easier for me to maintain.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it is. It's up and down. In bad weather, you know, I can crank them down a little bit to get more leverage so it doesn't put, the wind doesn't put too much pressure. This is like my Grandpa Grossman and Grandpa Gregory, my dad, he just gets a kick out of it because the ones we had were
Pretty primitive.
They were primitive. Yeah. And what they are today, you know, where they're at. If a person's interested, these are guards. This keeps from critters from coming up and coming in and getting the houses. And these are shaped like a small moon because predators have a hard time getting in there to pull the babies out, you know, for dinner. Yeah. These are predatory type, you know, for hawks and owls and so forth. And it's so designed. Cool. It's cool. It's real. It just takes place. You know that plant right there? You know, you're talking 25 years old. Crazy. 20. Here's the stuff that's called ragweed. Okay. That's the stuff that makes us.
The allergens.
That's the allergens that we get confused with this.
Yeah.
Oh, that stuff makes me cough. No, it's this. It's that. Okay. We called it, nicknamed when I grew up, we call it horseweed. Okay. It's called ragweed. Yep. And me and him don't get along. We're not friends. We're just not friendly. So Charlie and I, you know,
there's one.
Oh yeah, this would be a good side. Yeah, they love these trees here.
That's
Some
cool.
of those pictures that I sent you are from I winter ski, and her and I are being gone more, Chad. Okay. So I worry. Okay, you know, I've got to protect them with all I can because in the wintertime when it gets nasty. They come, the world shows up here because all the crops are out. Yep. And so they come from across the roads. They all join up here. Yeah. They go, oh, we got food for the winter. You know, so here's what I'm doing to protect that. As Charlie and I move into our retirement years and we're going to be gone more often. Strictly protection. Cut right in here. I got a little, you can see I've walked in here. Okay. So I got a way out over here. So let's go down to the car. See this right here? This is my food plot. I've got 2 of them out here. Okay. This is Milo.
That's what I was going to ask what these were because they're different than anything I've seen so far.
This is not dry yet. It's starting to dry. Okay. Now you can imagine in a bad snowstorm how strong this is. How strong that is. Yeah. The snow will fill up, and guess what? Those pheasants and all the wildlife will be able to walk in here. That is 33%. 33% protein, just says corn. And this will remain for the whole winter. Come on, walk around. There'll be usually there's a bunch of pheasants sometimes in there. I love it already. And I let some of it, you know, you see I didn't kill it down too far. Sure. Because I put it in kind of natural. So you just take a look in there at the food. You think I worry about food?
No. It's awesome.
You know why my purple martins love it here? Because Grandpa has so many bugs.
Yes.
I think this is the bomb, man. They come here, this is like the greatest place in the world.
Probably not too many mosquitoes though, right?
Oh, they smoke them. They smoke them.
Yeah.
We do better than what people would think about bugs because when those guys are here and all my wrens and everything that gets aphids, I got a lot of critter killers. And you know, I'm a bug guy. I love bugs. Yeah. I love bugs. You know, but you know, there's just a balance. Right. There's a balance in nature. You can imagine the coneflowers that were in there, Chad. This is all the old stuff. Everything that we're walking in, all the way down to the trees. This area was put in almost 25 years ago. Yeah. This is old. Here forever. You can't take it. You can't do anything. You can't. It's here forever. Yeah. All foul dust themselves they do this on their feathers because it gets the bugs off. They dust themselves. I got dusting spots all over.
That's not your dusting spot? Okay. I don't know.
It makes sense. It makes sense. But these guys, look at the food. Look at the shelter that they have under bad times this winter. Bad times. Because they'll want to come
out of the wind.
They'll want to come to this because it's actually got more food in it. And that's a lot of food.
That's a lot of food.
Yeah. I got 2 of these. Because Charlie and I are ready to get on. I got to do something because I won't be able to, you know, I had I've had a few people come out. Ken used to help me feed.
And what's this called again?
This is called Milo.
Milo. Oh yeah, Milo fields. Yep.
Or another term is called grain sorghum.
Okay.
Milo or grain sorghum.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not. See that? You just come out here. You already see them when they do that. It's hilarious. Oh, it's like, hey guys, get
Dust bath.
Everybody, come on, man. It's funny. It's actually funny to watch. Because as you know, fowl are very smart.
Yes.
You know, chickens, they're brilliant, man. And these guys here are just like them. They're like, see, it's all pushed around and everything. If we walked in there, they go. They're in there. They love it here already. They know already.
Now, have you stopped hunting?
Oh yeah, I don't hunt anything.
Yeah, I didn't.
Nope. I was one. Look at that corner. Look at this.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at that right there, Chad. No, I was actually what I did. My biggest passion outside of anything I ever did in my lifetime was I trained German Shorthairs, and you go back with Ken. I knew farmers everywhere, so there was nothing more great than to take a dog to the field. I was a passionate bird hunter, and my love for them was just amazing as I grew older. And so I could go everywhere, and I was a guy that didn't hunt with groups of people. I did a lot of it by myself, just me and my dog or one other person. So it was a big adventure when I went, in the middle, I'd go into Iowa or out here, everywhere. And I can't even tell you, that's what helped me, because my grandparents showed me that when I was a kid. My dad, this is what we're going to do. And it was just it was just wonderful, because there's an energy, you know what I'm talking about? When you do things like that, there's just an energy that is hard to describe, that is so good for you to get out there. But I'm telling you what, after a good day of bird hunting, you come to lunchtime and all you're doing is give me that big bowl of soup and sandwich. It is energy. It was energy.
Yeah.
So I did that my whole life up to a few years back when I had my last dog I trained. Charlie and I had to make a decision, what, are we in this or out of this? And I had to stop because we were leaving. So my attendance to my dogs weren't as good. And so we made that decision. But in the meantime, I had this all the time. So now I'm like, I don't have any reason to. I did all that. I hunted grouse. I've been all over the country hunting birds, and now I just want to let everybody know this is how I take care of them now.
I like it.
Yeah, this is how I take care of them now, Gregory. And at that point, when I realized what my care has been for years, and someone acknowledged it, I was like, I remember standing there going, I really appreciate you guys coming. And they looked at me and they said, no, we appreciate what you do. And at that point, I'll never forget what I said, Chad. I said, now, wait a second. I appreciate the people that start out with these very small areas that have the same passion as a big area. And so that made me think, this has been like, 20 some years ago. And I said, what we have to concentrate, I kind of corrected them to a certain extent, is thanks for this. But let's concentrate, over 20 years ago I said that, let's concentrate on the people in the school systems that are trying to make these little areas, because these little areas are vast 20 years later. Like this, everywhere, people in town, Mitch, hey, what do I need to do here to plant a few plants? And, oh, your place is so great. No, I always say, no, we're not going whatever you think is so great. What you're doing is great. It's those areas that are turning into vast areas. The state of Colorado, Florida, there's different states that are actually eliminating grass. Their governments are stepping in and saying, hey, if you turn your yard into a natural habitat, we're going to pay you to do that. And it's going in the right direction. Let's put it that way. How grand it is, it's that way. It's people are becoming very interested in this.
A lot of small changes make big changes, right? So,
Chad, that is the whole key behind any of this. It's the fact that we have people that have interest, and they want to be what I call or refer to as this word. Let's be a steward. Let's be a steward of what we have around us. Let's try to steward this a little bit. And when you look that term up, it just makes you so proud. It makes you, there isn't a trophy in the world big enough to be a steward.
Do well with what you have.
Exactly. What you have, man. It's just.